welcome to the Webinar Talk Show. I am Liz Green.
And I am Tom Singer. And Eliz and I decided a long time ago that webinars don't have to be boring, and they can be a lot better than a talking head over PowerPoint. We think in-depth interviews is the best way, or one of the best ways, to share information.
Absolutely right. And when we're talking about being in this virtual world, our guest today is one of those early adopters. He has been on the front line for every new technology that's come along, it seems like.
Going back to cassette tapes.
Right. Always looking at the tools and thinking about ways that we can use those tools to communicate better. He describes himself as a communicator who helps people communicate better. I don't know that there's a better description there.
Nope. And we need that in this day that we have moved to video. We all need help communicating better. And I can't think of anybody better than our guest today.
So welcome to the Webinar Talk Show, Terry Brock. Woo!
Hello there.
Welcome, Terry.
It is great to be with both of you. Let's have some fun, make some magic today.
I think that'd be great. Terry, you know, I made a joke about the fact that you've been an early adopter since the cassette tape, but you said when we were getting ready to start that you remember being, young and seeing these things come out, and you probably thought, hey, this is better than 8-track.
Yeah. Actually, I was thinking it was, as I was telling my friend Thomas Edison, it's better than the thing that he invented too. When we were there together. But I looked at it. I thought, hey, this is a great way to get your words and ideas to someone else, and it sounds just like grown-ups do it on the radio. Wow, that's cool.
Right. Well, and you have always been about more than just the gee whiz wow of technology. Gee whiz wow is fun, but technology in particular, technology in communication, it doesn't matter how cool it is unless you're using it well. What has been your sort of focus as you get something new on the horizon? How do you know what's coming, and how do you know what to do with it?
That's a very important question, Liz, because there's all kinds of nifty, groovy new gadgets coming out. I go, oh, wow, this is great. The nerd in me wants to play with all of that. But I think we have to have really good filters. I like the way that Clay Shirky said it. It's not so much information overload as it is filter failure that we have a problem with. What we need to do is to have our filters like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm not going to do. And I would go to Warren Buffett, who tells us out of 20 possibilities, 19, you're going to have to say no, so that you can say yes to that one that's right. So I've found that it's really important, particularly in business. What you've got to do is clearly know what you're trying to do. Serve your customers, your clients, your members, whatever term you use for those marvelous people who pay the bills. What can you do to help them solve their problems? I like to think of us as I've said many times before, we really should be CSPs. Now, in the National Speakers Association, we say we're certified speaking professionals, but I think more than that, we're communicators who solve problems.
Wow.
CSPs.
Ooh, very good.
Communicators
I like
who are solving problems. We look out there, what's going on right here? And so as we see new technologies, new tools, what problem can this solve? How can I communicate better and clearer, more cogently to the desired market that I have? How can I help them?
So Terry, in your career as one who is a communicator, you are a speaker and you've done all different types of things along that level. But as someone who helps other people communicate, what are some of the tools? Let's go back several years. What are some of the tools that you embraced early on and taught people? And then let's take it today to our crazy world of Zoom and other things.
Yeah, I guess a lot of tools that I got go way back, the audio cassette we talked about and joked about. I saw that and I thought, this is kind of nice. And I started playing with it and learning with it. I actually started playing chess with my grandfather, who was way down south. I grew up in Michigan, and he was down south, and I'd send him an audio cassette tape through the mail, and we both would play chess that way. It was kind of fun. And so
you tell him where to move the bishop, and then he'd move it,
exactly.
And he'd tell you where he moved it.
Yeah, over there, we did that. It was a lot.
That must have been a slow game of chess.
It did go on for a long time. Eventually, I don't think we ever really completed the game, but it was fun, and he enjoyed it, and I did too. But I think that I like to look at what tools we can use, like audio, I got into
Mhm.
radio when I was a junior in high school, and I was over about several million people in the state of Michigan listened to me. I was on the Family Life broadcasting system, WUNN 1110 on your AM dial from Mason, or WUFN 96.7 on the FM dial from Albion. The Family Life broadcasting system. See, I still remember that
Everyone,
stuff.
everyone who is watching this, who grew up in Michigan, just flashed back like 40
Like,
years.
oh, it's
Yeah.
the
Oh my
voice.
goodness, what is it? But it was fun. So I've been communicating. And then when I started writing for a newspaper, and I wrote for a little community newspaper and covered a state senator from Lansing, did a story on him. They liked what I did, and they sent me to Washington, D.C., and I covered Richard Nixon's inauguration. I was 16
Wow.
years old at the time. And so I remember
Wow.
going out and seeing all that. But I like the idea of playing with words, written
Mhm.
words, spoken words, and how we can take those words and really change people's lives for the better, and they could also be changed for the worse. So I look at myself as someone who is playing with words, and I'm just getting started. I've been doing it now for several years, but I feel like I'm just getting started and ready to go into the future in that wonderful new world that's the undiscovered country, as Shakespeare told us about.
Well, and Terry, of course, is completely modest when it comes to talking about his accomplishments. So I'll brag on him instead. Uh, Terry is, like Tom and I, a member of the National Speakers Association. He is not only a CSP, he is also a CPAE Hall of Fame, correct?
Which is the Speaker Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And and a Cabot Award winner,
Very
which
honored
was
to
pretty.
have that.
And that's our, we call it the member of the year, but it's really sort of the member of a lifetime in some ways, that it is looking at how our members serve each other. And so that is, those three things together really describe Terry. He's a great communicator, he has a great business, and he has a great heart. So
Mhm.
that describes Terry in a nutshell.
Well, thank you. You're very kind. But I like the idea that when talking about Cabot, it was named, of course, after Cabot Robert, co-founder of the National Speakers Association. And he often talked about making the pie bigger. Rather than
Mhm.
competing and all of that, he would go out and figure out how can we help others. And actually, that's one of the best ways to help yourself. You
Mhm.
help others and you help them achieve their goals, solve their problems, and then they're more likely to help you. And you also learn more that way. Cabot, by the way, also was real big on technology. He was one of the first also to embrace audio cassettes. And he started selling that, realizing he could take his speeches, put these on those tapes, and then make that available to people so they could take you home. And he was pushing the envelope even in his day. So I
If
think we
if
have
he
a
was
wonderful
alive,
heritage.
if he was
But
alive today, he'd have a podcast for sure.
oh yeah, I think
Oh,
for sure he
yeah.
would have a podcast, probably be on video, and he'd be doing all kinds of nifty, groovy things with his smartphone.
You know, it's interesting because recently I decided to look him up online just out of
Hmm.
curiosity because he was long gone before I had joined the National Speakers Association. And there is a lot of his recordings that you can find on YouTube and other places. There is some of his both video and audio does exist out there. And he was sort of the old school sort of motivational speaker. And it's kind of fun to watch him.
Yeah, exactly. I mentioned that from the platform at NSA as I was announcing the new recipient of the Cabot, and mentioned Cabot, go back and watch the videos. If you hadn't
Yeah.
heard of him, go to YouTube, type in Cabot Robert, and you'll see his style, which is a little different than what we do today,
Hmm.
much like Billy Sunday was different back in the 1920s than what we saw in the 70s. And you can think of what people did throughout the centuries and how they change and adapt. And I think that's what we have to do. So we have to keep adapting, keep changing and learning so that we're embracing what is working today, but also cognizant and aware of what's happened in the past.
So Terry, that's a perfect segue to the question I wanted
Right?
to ask you because we live in this world now where everything has gone video and we've watched it
Hmm.
happen over the last decade or a little bit more than that. But really in the last few months, this whole world has just gone pop with people having to have video meetings and not just video meetings one-on-one, but video meetings to thousands of people. And yet, if we go back to the early days of Skype, I remember when I first met you like 12 years ago. I mean, Skype wasn't brand new, but you were already embracing it. If I remember correctly, you were like writing and doing work for Skype. So how did you know that video was going to be what it is today before it
Good
was?
question.
Well, it just seemed like a natural because we naturally in the real world like to see people. We like to get together with
Mhm.
them. And even though video is not the same, I get that. It's not the same, but it's pretty doggone close with the
Mhm.
good video we have today, the quality of audio, the bandwidth. I remember when Skype first came out, we considered it a good Skype call if it only crashed 4 times in 30 minutes. And it was like, oh, wow, it only 4 crashes. That wasn't
Right,
Skype's fault at all. It was just that was the way the technology was.
right.
Today, I think more importantly, we've got the technology there, the better audio, the better video, we've got better bandwidth. But I think even
Mhm.
more, we saw that in Wall Street Journal this week, where people are more open to doing business via video now. They weren't
Right.
before. And now they're saying, hey, this has profound ramifications when we finally get back into the in-person meetings, et cetera. We think, why should we send a salesperson from Atlanta to Los Angeles, all that's going to be required to take that trip, and then be there for an hour, hour and a half to see the client, and then come all the way back? What a waste of resources when you could really get most everything done over a good video communication for hour and a half, 2 hours, or whatever. And I think it's really going to have some profound changes in the way we think, the way we communicate, the way we learn.
So in the early days of using Skype and transitioning to this sort of video communication, what were you teaching your clients then? And then let's move
Mm.
to today.
Oh, well, I guess when I got out of the MBA program, I was fascinated with this thing out there called spreadsheets. They were brand new at the time. VisiCalc was big, SuperCalc. I knew nothing about this, but I do remember from hammering it into my little brain in the program, the cash flow statements and internal rate of return
Mhm.
and net present values and all that kind of nifty, groovy stuff. But I took that, I thought, I'll bet you we could do that on a spreadsheet. So I started showing a few people how to do it, and I put some things together, and then eventually showed a few more. And then I found there was people that would be willing to pay to show you
Mm.
how to do that. And I ended up working for, at the time I was in Atlanta, Georgia, the Georgia Society of CPAs and many other clients, and Coca-Cola. That Coca-Cola sent me different places around the world, teaching their companies, their employees how to use spreadsheets, how to use technology. And with the CPAs there in Georgia and 27 state societies of CPAs, I just showed what was there. And I thought the key is find a new technology, find something that's going to be useful. Because what I would do is I would show accountants, look, on a spreadsheet, this is brand new stuff. I changed this number right here. And look, it's going to ripple all the way through. All those other numbers will change. As I like to say, many of those CPAs came dangerously close to actually having an emotion. Scary. See that? They look at it, they go, wow, that's really something. And I go, sure, I'll show you how to do that. And so it was worth money. And so I would say to the listeners and those that are watching this right now, think of something that can solve a problem, something you can use, take that technology, twist it in a certain way that it's going to help them to solve a problem, something that is, oh my goodness, that's really amazing. Right now we laugh at, oh yeah, spreadsheet, of course you change it. We accept that as axiomatic. But back then that was something. It was really
Well, it all
something.
has to start somewhere, right?
Yeah. So we're going to see new things. There's going to be a lot. I think we're going to see a lot more in the biomedical area in the next
Mm.
20, 30 years. And so I'd say just keep your eyes open. Look at how you can solve problems. Take that mentality and how you can serve others. That is going to be timeless. That will still be valid when we talk about this 150 years from now. When the three of us get back together again,
Right.
150 years, we're going to remember that
Because biomedical is
biotechnology.
going to improve.
That's right. They will
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
downloaded my essence and we can just plug it into a computer and I'll just talk to you.
Exactly. It's things like that. And that, by the way, is not so far-fetched. They're talking about it right now. And so it's pretty amazing. I think in spite of everything that's going on in the world, we're cognizant of what's happening. We see the world, we read the newspaper, we see that kind of stuff, and it's a whole lot of yuck. I'll use that term, a lot of
Sure.
yuck that's going on. But it's going to be even better when we look at the opportunities that are out there for us. If we can keep our eyes open and start piecing things together, a little bit of this with some of that and a little bit of this over here, that's usually how it works throughout history.
Well, and you're an expert at that. And I think one of the things that we were talking about as we were getting ready to go live today was the work that you are doing with companies to do training virtually. And right now, I think everybody's sort of like in a holding pattern. But the companies, as we go back and we open up, there's going to be training necessary. And I've been talking to a lot of association executives recently, and they need to provide professional development for their members to stay current, to stay relevant. What do you think people who are planning trainings, who are association executives and looking at professional development, what do they need to keep in mind right now in terms of really delivering good educational content?
I think that we're looking at using virtual delivery mechanisms more than ever right now. In fact, I think it
Hmm.
was today's Wall Street Journal talking about people that are leaving the big cities and going elsewhere. As long as they got
Right.
bandwidth, they're thinking, why should I pay so much money in a place where there's all of this traffic when I can have fresh, clean air? I can be where I want. I can be around the people I want. You just need to have good, solid bandwidth and know how to
Hmm.
do it. And I think that's going to be an integral part of what we do. Training and learning is important, and you need to get competent professionals. Often the term
Hmm.
webinar is confused with boring, because too often it is.
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
wake up, get a life here. And I think that's where professional communicators that we are
Hmm.
have to say, okay, how can I spice this up a little bit? How can I make it fun in a professional way and make sure that it's delivered in a way that people go, wow, that's
Yeah.
great. Winston Marsh over in Australia likes to say, you got to figure out how to make them say, wow. And I think that's the key. We as communicators got to figure out what can we do that's professional, not getting in an area
Right.
that wouldn't be professional, or that would be, oh, come on, we don't want to hear that. Something they're going, hey, that's pretty good. Wait a minute, I got to write that down. And so I think there's going to be more need for that, because when we need to learn something, we can't wait 4 months until the next meeting in Las Vegas when everybody gets together to hear that speaker. We might need it right now, just in
Hmm.
time learning, and they can deliver it. Those that are speakers, we can do it. Not, we will be doing the meetings somewhere in person, yes, but even more, we'll be doing every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to deliver to your organization how you can solve this problem. And we're going to make
Right.
sure that you get it out over a period of time. Spaced repetition learning is often the best way to learn. And so virtual is going to be an integral part of that.
I think you're right. And as we move into things opening up and we're back to in-person events, whether that's, the ballroom in a hotel somewhere or it's at a company somewhere, it, it's almost inevitable that not every person who needs that content is going to be able to be there in person for whatever reason.
Yes.
And I do think that combination of in person and virtual is a way of the future. We're
Yeah,
going
I
to
Oh,
mean,
need to
yeah.
combine
hybrids
that.
are here to stay.
Hybrid,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's not either or. Some people go, well, wait a minute, being there in person is better. Da, 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 da. Well, hey, I get it. We're there. I've lived in that world. We all live in that world of being out there in person, shaking hands, the chance meeting in the hall, the
Right.
breakfast meeting that you have with the key people that are making a decision on where we're going to go for next month and what products, or the meeting in the bar at night when we can relax, we
Hmm.
can have fun, we can talk to people and get a chance to go, oh, yeah, let's talk about it. There is a place for that. We need it. But I think the virtual is now becoming more accepted. That's the key.
Hmm.
The biggest development is psychological. People have said, yeah, we're making progress. We can do it now. And I had an interview with Eric Wan, the CEO of Zoom, a while back. And this was a couple of years ago. And even then, he was talking about the benefits of video, where you can get
Hmm.
decisions faster. You don't have to wait as long. You can do it right now. And I think that's what we want. We want to be able to do it right now. Or I also want to be able to record it, so that I can go
Hmm.
back and I can see what it was. Matter of fact, one of the great things we can do is, you and I know we've got the option through the National Speakers Association to get a feature in Zoom that records and gives us a transcript.
Right.
That's real nice, because that conversation you had 3 weeks ago with the client, they mentioned something about Milwaukee and I forget what it was. Oh, I don't remember when they said it, but I'm going to do a search on the word Milwaukee and it bounces down. Oh, that was it. 53 minutes and 27 seconds. Yes, I've got it. It gets me the ability to get things done faster, to serve people better, much faster than going through and listening to the whole hour and a half conversation again to
Right.
find out what did they say about Milwaukee.
Well, and what's so interesting is, like you said, just being able to accept that it's okay to do certain things that used to be face to face, but we haven't been able to do during quarantine. People have gotten comfortable with it. Next week, Eliz and I are going to interview the chairman for North America for a major executive search firm,
Mhm.
and he completed the search, like a major search for the head of HR for an organization, and the person never got on a plane, never got in the same room with the hiring committee. They did the entire search and the entire placement during the quarantine, and the person has started as the head of HR before ever having met anyone in the company. And that was something that everyone said couldn't be done. But this gentleman and the company he works for got creative and figured out a way to make it happen with their client. And that's new.
I like it. See, you said the key phrase there. They got creative, and they figured out a way to make it happen. Knowing this tool, knowing what it can do, knowing its limitations, knowing its possibilities, and pushing it a little bit farther is the mindset we want to have so that we can embrace not only virtual, but any other technology that's coming down the pike.
Yeah, I think that's right. And not get stuck in this is how we've always done it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of speakers right now getting stuck with, Tom and I see it a lot, frankly, where I have my slides and this is where I'm comfortable and I'm just going to show my slides and I'm going to do my talk the way I've always done it, and not exploring all of the cool gee whiz wow things that are possible, not in the what can I have flying on my screen sort of gee whiz wow, but what are the unique aspects of the tool that you're using that can actually allow you to have maybe a little bit of that hallway conversation. One of the things I love about Zoom are in a meeting, the breakout rooms where you can get smaller groups together. You can have a little bit of that hallway experience. It's not the same, but it's pretty darn good.
Yeah. And I think that's the point. It's pretty darn good. Good-ish is very important. If it's good-ish, we can use that. We can take it and twist it around and make sure that those kind of things start happening the right way. But really, that principle has been used throughout history. I think of Napoleon. When Napoleon was going to go and attack down in Italy, he had the Alps there, and they go, "Oh, you can't do it now. It's the Alps. You just can't do it." And Napoleon looked at him and he said, "To Napoleon's troops, there shall be no Alps." And so he used unique ways, using backpacks, carrying less supply than all they did before. And he got there, he blew them away, stunned them. Nobody thought he would do that. And he did very well, at least at that time. Now, he blew it on Spain and in Russia, but that's a whole other thing. But you want to find what can you do to accomplish what needs to be done in a creative, different way. Let your mind expand. And we can learn by studying history what they did. Sure, they didn't have video and all that, but they did have a challenge. They had problems and they needed to do it, whoever they were. And we look at that one case there with Napoleon. He was one of the greatest generals that ever lived because of that.
So Terry, tell us a little bit about the work you're doing right now for your customers.
I'm doing quite a bit. I'm training people on how to train them, train their offices, their staff also. I've been working with a dentist who does a lot of communication and training, teaching other dentists, both clinical work as well as inpatient experiences and communication. We've been training his company and his people for a couple of years now on Zoom, particularly, also Loom and other technologies like that. And now they realize, wow, everyone's using it. So now they're doing regular Facebook Lives. They're bringing in lots of people. We've got about 25,000 people in the database that are joining us regularly now on Facebook Lives and other means of delivering information on a regular basis via video. And we also use a hybrid approach. So we have in-person meetings, classes, but those are recorded, those are videos so that people can join us live via video, as well as people that are right there in the room. So I'm finding those kind of things are real handy, and communicating with people worldwide is possible. Geography really is being dissolved. We really don't care where you are, and sometimes even when you are, because our 24-hour schedules today, yes, we do. I've been getting up. I remember when I was working with Ace Hardware, training their people, had to get up at 2 in the morning for a 4 a.m. presentation. It was 4 a.m. in Orlando, Florida, where I am, but that was 4 p.m. over in the Philippines, which was an ideal time for them. And so we adapt and adjust, and we learn to sleep flexibly whenever we have to.
Like that. Adapt and sleep flexibly. That is a good takeaway for now. But I like that idea that we're going to meet people wherever they are, whenever they are, instead of being tied to just a particular place and a particular time.
Yeah, exactly. I think the Marines say it very well. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. And so we've got to realize, okay, this is hitting us from all these different directions. It's all right. Just take a deep breath, step back. What am I trying to accomplish? focus and get it done with the resources that we have at hand. Teddy Roosevelt said real well, do what you can with what you got right where you are.
So
I like
Terry, as someone who kind of sees new technology coming down the pipe, when you look out there now, is there anything that you think you guys should be watching this?
I think, golly, there's so much. If I knew everything on that, boy, I'd have billions and billions of dollars. That would be really nice. But I think we want to watch the video. It is definitely going to get stronger and better. Mobile also. The fact that now I can carry with me on my smartphone, I've got the technology that's far superior to television stations that spent millions of dollars for them just a few years ago. Now we can do that from almost anywhere. And speedtest.net becomes one of our best buddies. So I can say right here, where I am right now, do I have enough bandwidth to do a Zoom video? Or not, or do I need to move over here? Can I go over there? And so getting that bandwidth is key. I think 5G also is going to help deliver that. It's got some controversy around it, but then technology has had that for a while. Whatever it is, I think we'll work it out. And I would look at particularly the biomedical developments. When we see what's happening right now, people that are in that field, we didn't study a whole lot of medicine when I went to business school, but I'm realizing there's a lot out there going on with that stuff. And I'm kind of fascinated to see what is happening and how they're using it with stem cell research and helping people to grow better body parts themselves. You know, you're the youngest you're going to be for the rest of your life right now. And so they can take stem cells from your body, put them someplace stored so that then later on, if you have some kind of a deficiency or illness or whatever, we can take your own stem cells, inject them back into you, and you got a much better chance of being healed that way. So there's all kinds of developments there. I'd say stay in touch with what's happening, and particularly don't get overwhelmed with it, but have your filters in place that are right for you.
Love it when it comes back full circle. It's always good. And I think that's a good thing to really keep in mind, is that we can't do every single thing that comes along in terms
I tried, but we can't do it. If I keep trying, no. If I work harder, if I sleep less, and then your body says,
No.
you do need some sleep.
Well, Terry, thanks so much for being with us today. That was,
thank you.
It's always fun to talk to you, and I'm always impressed with how you weave history into talking about technology, because it's sort of both ends of the spectrum, what's new, what's old, and you meld it together so beautifully.
Well, thank you. I think that's what we got to do. It's George Santayana who said, if we don't study history, we're condemned to repeat it. And I think we've got to look at what's going on, even in the midst of the challenges we're having today. Yes, we've never had anything like this. We say unprecedented, and that is correct. But we've had plagues before. We've had ugly racism before. We've had wars and petulance. We've had inflation, hyperinflation before. How did they handle it? Successfully? How did they not handle it successfully? And I think if we do that and we read and study and learn and keep an open mind, an inquisitive mind, we can do very well. It's wonderful to be with both of you. I admire both of you greatly. You're tremendous professionals, and it's an honor to know both of you. Thank you for what you're doing.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, that was a great episode. We will be back next week on Monday and Wednesday with new guests. Tom already told you about our guest on Monday. On Wednesday, we'll have Crystal Washington talking about how to make connections using tools so it's not weird.
I like it.
I just like the topic, so it's not weird.
So it's not weird. Yes. So we're excited about that. Thanks again, Terry. You're always a delight to talk to, and we'll see you next week. Have a great rest of your day.